Okay. Hi, I'm Tanmay Kamath. I recently wanted to spin up a Kubernetes cluster. I started to try out using the documentation, using some of the videos, but there were few issues, a few bugs that left unresolved, and I literally tried out many ways to set up it from scratch. I found major solutions, managed solutions. So, and I didn't want it to go that way. So this is the video for anyone who is trying to set up single node cluster using Kubeadm on any cloud server that needs at least 2 GB of RAM and two CPUs. That is the bare minimum requirement as per Kubernetes. So let's get started. Okay, so I have started a droplet, as you can see, of Ubuntu. So, and I have connected it here using SSH. So let's start by following the documentation itself. So installing Kubeadmin. Okay. So this is version 1.32. So let's get started. So as I mentioned, 2 GB of RAM, two CPUs, network connectivity, etc. Since this is a single node cluster, I am not that bothered about uh, host name or anything. Firstly, we need to check whether 6443 is occupied or not. So this is basically the port where API cluster, like API server, is serving. So as you can see, it is not hosted. So it is not able to connect it. That means there is no issue with it. We'll need to turn off the swap configuration. So there is some issues with when we try to set up Kubernetes, and if swap is on. So I can just say swap of A. This is a root user directly. You'll need probably sudo. This is a temporary change, as you can see. I'll need to disable it here if it is visible. So I'll say AI. So there is swap is not actually put up here, so it won't be a major issue. Okay, so next is installing a container runtime. So container runtime are nothing basically that manages the container like Docker or Containerd. Uh, will go here and we'll start with the Containerd requirements. Okay. Firstly, we'll need to enable packet forwarding. So we'll start by forwarding the packet IP4 packet. It helps. It is used to forward the packet that is incoming to the machine to the Kubernetes cluster or any other network as for the fact. So we'll just copy this, and as you can see here, we have successfully it is configured. We just need to copy again and paste. Okay. Now next step is CG group drivers. Okay, so before configuring that, we'll need to install Containerd. Containerd installation is similar as Docker. So install Docker on Ubuntu. Okay, and I'll go here down. I'll just copy this and paste. So this will install it. It'll put up the source in the. It'll put up the source in the for installation. Okay, it says this is the first time. I'll say yes. So it has put up all the sources for installation. Next step is pretty simple. I'll go and ahead and say this. sudo apt get install and containerd. So this basically installs the containerd. Now we have to make some changes in CG group F drivers. Okay, so the changes are these two things. We need to put up system D group as true, and we need to put up sandbox image as 3.10. But like if I just so here, if you experience crash loop or initial cluster installation after CNI, so basically we'll first need to set this up. This is a very important step. So what this does basically is it'll okay. So if I just say this, so this is the configuration for containerd, and I want to put it into this file. So this is where we make the changes for anything that is related to containerd. Okay. So I'll just put up enter. So all this like this is a basic template. It is now available here. Now what I want to do is I want to go ahead and make these two changes. So I'll just say vi tc containerd config dot. Okay. Now first one is system d group. Okay. So I'll just make the changes here. I'll set it to true. Okay. Next step is pause. Okay. So here I'll make it 10. Now that should be it. That should be it. Now we just need to restart the container. Okay. The major reason to do these steps is to match the Kubernetes configuration and the container configuration so that there is no conflicts between it. Okay. So after we have set up the container runtime, this step is completed. Let's go back. Here, next step is to install Kubeadm, kubelet, and kubecontrol. Okay, so here these are basic details. Kubeadm will not install kubelet, and kubectl you'll need to install it explicitly. So here those steps are also mentioned. So I'll just copy the first part and I'll paste it. Okay. Now here the second step is a little critical. You'll need to make sure this file like exist, this folder exists, because in some machines this folder do not exist. So I'll say ls. So here it exists. So that is the reason I was able to find like list it down. If it didn't exist, so for example, if I put it something like this, you cannot access as there is no such file or directory. Okay. Now what I can do is, since it is existing, I'll just run this. If it do not exist, you can run this command. Okay. I'll just go ahead and that is it. We'll also need to write like copy this command, paste it. This is also done. Here we have three steps. That is, it is updating like the package and dependencies. Then it is installing kubelet, kubeadmin, and kubecontrol. And finally, it is telling the apt to hold kubelet, kubeadmin, and kubectl, yeah, kubecontrol on the same level as it has been installed, like same version as it been installed, so that it do not accidentally cause any crashes or anything such in future. Okay, so I'll say enter. Here it is saying, okay, so see which is important. Okay, so okay, okay. So if you find the CG group, will this is not this I haven't faced any issue as of now. If you guys face any issue, let me know. We'll probably try to replicate it. Okay. So that was the initial steps for installation of like all the components that we require. Like the next step is to actually start the cluster. Okay, so next step is simple. We'll use Kubeadm to create a cluster. Okay, so before you begin, you just need to read 2 GB. Okay, this is fine. The control plane that we were talking about. So we already had set up the container runtime. This is used to show the IP. So if you see this, these are the networks that we have. We need to make sure any subnetwork that we make do not interfere with these networks. Okay. So we'll start by initializing Kubeadm. Okay. Now we need to provide two major arguments basically. One is the network, the subnet that we wanna use. So I'll say I need 10.200.0.0 slash 16. So you need to remember this like thoroughly. And secondly is this. And I'll just say, okay, so what is this? This is your IP address where you will actually go ahead and listen to the connections given to the uh, like the main control plane. So currently I want to listen it at this IP. That is my current node's IP. Okay. If you don't know what is your current node's IP, just do this IP addr show. So if you can just go here, so you will get the IP. Okay. Whether this is not the IP, this is the default gateway. So make sure you don't copy this by mistake. Okay. So this is your machine's IP. Now, if I just put up enter, now this will take some time, but it will install the Kubeadm. Okay. Okay. So as you can see, the like the Kubernetes cluster has been like the control plane has been set up. Now what we need to do is we need to make sure we need to update this command. Like you need to run this command. Okay, so now you'll be able to see kubectl get nodes. Before that, you cannot run this command; it will give you some error. Okay, I just need a wider output. So if you see, this is my current internal IP. Okay, some of you may have a different IP. You will need to update this internal IP. Okay. Anyways, so now what is the next step? Let's see. Once you initialized, that should be it. Okay. One more thing, we'll need to set up a network. So currently, if I just say kubectl get nodes dash a, sorry, get ports. Okay, so as you can see, these two core DNSs are pending. So there is no way for pods to communicate with each other. So for that, first step is to actually go ahead and set up a network. Okay, so I'll just go ahead and set up a network. I'll use this here. If you can see, uh, okay, so I'll just go ahead and click on add-ons. I'll use Flannel for that matter because I find it kind of good. but I won't directly apply it. I need to make some changes. So I'll first view it or probably download it. Okay, so it has been downloaded. Okay. So the overall settings remains the same. Only you will need to change this. This is very important. If you remember, we created a subnet using the value. So here we created using 10.200.0.16. Okay, dot 0.0 slash 16. That is slash 16. Okay. So this is the only change that we need to do. Now I'll just copy this. I'll say vi cube flannel dot yml, paste it, and that is it. Now I just need to apply kubectl apply dash f and qflannel. That is it. That is it. Now this is what we have in the documentation. There are two major things that is not present in documentation, and that may or may not create a issue. Number one is the DNS entry, the ones that is available on the machine. So if I say um, cd slash plan, so this is if I say cat, not cd. Now here, if you can see this, these addresses are 67.207, 67.2 on DigitalOcean, like not on other things that I know, but on DigitalOcean, this gives the issue. Okay, like even if I set up everything, this will give issue. So I just need to change it. So I'll say vi, and I'll go here and change this name servers. Yeah, the name server issue. My bad, not the DNS. The name server 8.8 and 4.4. So on platform that I initially set up was Contabo. There, this issue I did not face, but I faced it on what like the DigitalOcean when I was trying to set it up. Okay. Now, if I just close, this is one issue. The second issue is interesting enough. I'll say get box. If you see here, it is still having issue. Q flannel. That issue is something that we need to set up. Now, this is the command that I found that was initially present in the documentation of Kubernetes, but I had to refer a few videos to found in order to find this command. And this command is, give me a minute, just put up so that I do not forget it. So yeah, this is the command. I'll put up in the comments probably. Here, I'll just copy this. Control C. I'll just paste this. Now, if I run this command, this is to validate. Okay. So this is running. If you would run this command before running this script, basically, you will find the entry in place. Okay. Now, if I say get pods A, it probably is in the crash loop. Yeah, now it is running. Okay. If you wait for a few more minutes, everything is running. So, like it sums up this now is your control plane set up from like scratch. You can add new connect new worker nodes using the command, like the command here, cube join this. You just need to set up the same network and everything. and you just instead of putting cube ADM in it, you just need to say cube join. That is it. Okay. You don't need to initialize and everything. It won't be an issue there. For people who are looking forward for a single node cluster, you need to run one more command, that is this. This is to ensure that the pods can be scheduled on the control plane as well. So this is only for people who are willing to go ahead and set up a uh, single cluster or multi-cluster, but they want that control plane to be utilized as a node as well, as a worker node as well. Just say, yeah, that is it. That is everything that needs to be set up for Kubernetes. After this, we'll check out how to set up for Ingress, and there are a few tools that we'll use. So like anyone who was looking for setting up the Kubernetes from scratch, this is the end. We'll now set up a very basic Ingress controller and a basic Ingress so that we can validate the whether we are able to get the traffic onto this K8s cluster. Okay. So let's get started. Okay, so this is a bonus tip for anyone who is still here. We'll use a tool to manage, that is K9s. I don't want it to go here. It's like K9s. Many of you might have already known it. Many of you might already know it. But basically, this is that I use usually, and it simplifies the process so much. Okay, so what I say is just copy this and I'll paste it. Now its beauty is just K9s, and I can actually go ahead and manage all the pods here. Like I can view pods if I say colon and then I say deployment. I can get all my deployments here. If I say colon and I say SVC, that is service, I'll get all my services here. So basically, this is a very good tool. Do check it out. Okay, so basically, there is one thing that is missing from the clips. You just need to search for deployment. Okay, and okay, so here we'll create a deployment. Deployment will basically help to spawn pods, and I'll just copy this here, and I'll go to my VS Code. I'll say vi deployment.yml. I'm running this in on my local. You'll run it on the cloud machine currently. I'll just say okay. I'll just paste it here. Basically, that is it. That is all you have to do. Okay, so before creating deployment services or anything, deployment is a way to spawn new pods. Pods are the places where actually the application is running. Okay, now these pods won't directly have a way to enter, way to actually receive the request. So we for that we use services. So wherever we want to make anything available, probably for local hosts or anywhere, we use service to expose this APIs or anything. Now we what is the work for Ingress? Ingress, the major role of the Ingress is to receive the request for a particular host or probably a particular service, and it decides where exactly the request will go. Probably there is a single domain and there are hundreds of services, so we need to make sure it goes to the right service, and there is no issue with like scaling of these services. So it is kind of, it works kind of that way. So I have put copied the deployment. Let me go ahead and copy the service as well. I'll just copy this one because it is much more easier to analyze and understand. Okay, so we separate the service generally by three dashes. Sorry, the like in YML file, when like the things that the resources that we create are generally separated by these three dashes. Firstly, let's try to understand this. So it basically means here in selector you have proxy and the label is also proxy. So app.kubernetes.io/name is proxy, and we use that as a selector. In this case, label is app ngin. So for service to actually go ahead and connect anything that is deployed by the current deployment that we are going to run, we need nginx. Okay, we'll need to match this here. Now, name of the service port, I'll say nginx service port. Works. Just hardly put up anything. I guess that should be it. Service, yeah, that should be it. Target port, here we have put up HTTP web something, web SVC. So I will just need to put that as well here. That is tab name is HTTP web SVC. Okay, I can just go ahead and delete the rest of the things. Now, one more thing, I'll just put up the replica down to one. I don't want three services, three pods to spawn up. So I'll just say WQ, and we have finally reached the point where I'll say kubectl apply dash f deployment.yaml, and we have created a deployment, we have created a service. If I say k9s, so as you can see it is in the default one. Here in the terminal you can get the commands or shortcut. So for example, if click 0, I'll get all my ports in one place. So you can refer this out. But as you can see, my current nginx deployment is up. Now, is there a way to reach it directly? Yes, there is a way, but I don't want to rely on that. It is basically port forwarding. But what I'll go ahead and do it, I'll make it a permanent one. So I'll just say Ingress. I need to install Ingress. It's double S, my bad. So for Ingress to work, the first step is to, like, this is the architecture. Here it is Ingress managed by load balancer, Ingress, and based on the routing rule, it sends to the respective service, and then service sends to the ports. Okay. So like we'll start by, before starting with the Ingress resource, we'll need to install the Ingress controller. Okay. So instead of checking it out, I'll just go ahead with Ingress nginx. I do not use Helm. Helm is a great tool to check out. I'll just use kubectl for now. Okay, I'll just apply it directly, and Ingress controller is created. Okay, so one important thing now here, as you can see, the Ingress controller is created. Let's go ahead and check this out here. So if I say, okay, to reach here, it is SVC. So SVC And here, as you can see, Ingress controller has started, like it has been spawned, and its type is load balancer. It do not have an external IP. So now here it is a very, like, it is issue. We need a external IP to reach this Ingress controller. So what I can say is I'll edit it. I'll go down. Okay. I'll change the type to node port. Okay, that is one thing. And secondly, I'll attach the my current IP to it. I don't know the command. I'll just search it. Okay, so here as you can see, we can use this command patch svc backend or svc frontend. So this is the, let's copy this. Let's say paste. Now I'll patch svc instead of backend. I'll put up this name, that is Ingress Nginx controller. And here I'll put up my IP, the IP that I initially used. So, so anything can be reached here using this IP. Basically, the request can be reached. And I'll say enter. Okay. By the way, we'll need to specify the namespace, and the namespace is Ingress Nginx. So let's say yes, Nginx. And it is patched. Now I am able to easily reach this port. How do I validate it? I'll just go ahead here. I'll paste it. As you can see, it is saying not found. But as you can see, it is actually telling me not found using the nginx itself. So that means it is somewhere set up. Okay. Next step is creating a ingress. So let's go ahead and create a very simple ingress. So I guess this should work. Okay, I'll say vi uh, ingress test dot yml insert. And now I just need to make two changes. First is okay, that is fine, that is fine. I'll need to change the path to whatever path I want. Path type path prefix works. Service name, instead of test, I need to put the service name that we are using. So I want it to redirect to this nginx service. Okay, I'll just put that here. Works. And secondly, we need to get the name of the ingress class name. So I'll just say ingress class. So all these commands are available in kubectl as well. This is just a more easier way to do it. So its name is nginx. So basically nginx. Yeah. And if I say kubectl apply dash f and ingress test.yaml, and the ingress is created, and if I just go ahead and refresh it, okay, service is temporarily unavailable. I guess there is some issue with the deployments. I don't know. SVC log. Nginx service do not have an active endpoint. Okay, that is strange. Okay, give me a minute. Service name Nginx service. Okay, so it basically means that the service do not have any something. Service do not have AI deploy. App selector Nginx. Here it is also Nginx. App Nginx label it is Nginx. It works. Port Nginx service port TCP 80. I guess it should work. I guess. Okay, here I have not put up the name. Probably that is the reason. I guess I had put it up. I don't know why it HTTP. I guess I put it in the wrong place. I don't know. SVC. Okay. SWQ. I'll apply it again. So you must contain only alphanumeric. Oh, my bad. I just put some extra, and it is configured. Now I guess it should update. If it is not getting updated, I'll just, yeah, as you can see, it is now available and you can just check it out. So that sums up from basically creating the cluster to setting up the nginx, to like basically any pod, any deployment that you want, setting up a service, and ingress control. Now anything that you need to change is just the ingress. You need to spawn new ingresses. You do not need to like make major changes in ingress controller. Anything major things are done in ingress service and deployments or pods. That is it. If you want things related to domains, here below, uh, yeah, here you can just see, you can just put up the host and host. That is it. It'll like anything that will come to this host, and obviously you'll need to update the DNS entry. That is it. So hopefully this works out. And do you have any questions? Please feel to reach me out. Thank you so much.